Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online Series 9 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today is the return of Porygon Z. This Pokemon was really dominant back in, I think it was, Series 6? But it definitely is not nearly as common in the metagame anymore, but this is actually a tournament-winning Porygon Z team. A player called DamiVGC, who I've linked down in the description below, used this to finish first in one of the grassroots tournaments organized by Victory Road a couple of weeks ago. And so, yeah, huge congratulations to them for winning the tournament. Like I mentioned, Twitter is down in the description below, as well as a rental, paste, and a team report for that very tournament, all linked down in the description below, so definitely go check it out. But this is definitely a pretty standard Porygon Z team. Porygon Z plus Clefairy is a really dynamic duel, as we've seen in some of the earlier formats in the last year and a half, and it can be really powerful. This Porygon Z is also fun because it has Nasty Plot, so it can snowball even quicker, and yeah, if you get a single Nasty Plot off, this thing will basically one-shot anything that doesn't resist it. So and it's really hard to resist Porygon Z through the combination of Hyper Beam and Dark Pulse. So pretty standard stuff all around. One thing to note is that the Clefairy here does have Ally Switch. One of the main reasons for that is because Dragapult can be a pretty tough matchup for this team, and so Ally Switch means that you can completely negate Dragapult just in general. If they lead Dragapult and they max Dragapult, no one's ever going to Worm Wind into Porygon Z. They're always going to Phantasm, and so with Ally Switch, you can actually redirect that Phantasm into Porygon Z and completely waste a turn on Dragapult, which is pretty cool. To round out the team, you've got Classic Magnet Registeel with Volt Switch, Citrus Berry, Incineroar. This one does have Taunt. Taunt is pretty common move on Incineroar. I mean, it always has been, but especially it feels like in the more recent months. Helps out, obviously, specifically into the Trick Room matchup. So, as indicated in the team report, one combo you can go with is Porygon Z plus Incineroar. Use Porygon Z to one-shot anything that is trying to stop you from taunting, like a redirection user like Indeedee or Mungus or Clefairy, for example, and then Incineroar can just taunt whatever the Trick Room user is. Obviously, not all Trick Room users can be taunted. Sometimes, they'll have Mentor, but that's like generally a strategy you can think about. And finally, you've got Classic AV Rillaboom and Water Urshifu. So, yeah, none of these Pokemon are super surprising, but I wanted to feature this team because, one, I was able to win a pretty big online grassroots tournament a couple weeks ago, and two, it just features Porygon Z, and, we haven't used this Pokemon in a while, but, the rundown on Porygon Z is basically you really want to snowball the game as quickly as possible in the first couple of turns of the matches, right? Ideally, you get all 3 turns of your Dynamax, and ideally, you're max striking all 3 of those turns, and ideally, you pick up a knockout on all 3 of those turns. Now, that's not going to happen actually that frequently, but that should be your goal, right? And then you want to close out the game with the combination of Alecki, Incin, Rillaboom, and Urshifu in the back. So yeah, Porygon Z just hits like an absolute monster, and like you don't have safe switch-ins into this thing, other than ghost types basically, but even then, it's not necessarily safe because you can make the max darkness read. Even something like a regular steel type switching into a adaptability life orb max strike basically takes like 50-60%, right? So like there's really no switch-in. The ways you can get around Porygon Z are either, decreasing special attack, Eerie Impulse is valuable, for example, going for switch-ins. Like switch-ins are hard, but if you can like sacrifice something that you don't have that much usage out of, that's good. Protects are obviously valuable, and then Focus Sash is a really good item specifically when you're playing against Porygon Z, because Porygon Z like really wants to pick up those 3 KOs, and if you have a Focus Sash user, like Porygon will have to commit 2 turns basically to knock out something that's not even Dynamaxed. So yeah. Anyway, I've been rambling on long enough. You all have seen how Porygon Z works before, but interested to see how it operates in this current meta in Series 9. I definitely think it can be quite powerful. So yeah, once again, thank you to the original creator for the team. Details are in the description below. Leave a like as always if you enjoy. And question of the day, I want to know what ability you think deserves a buff, kind of like how they buffed some of the abilities going into this format to, for example, be immune to Intimidate. Any ones that, you don't think see much usage or maybe could have more interesting applications, let me know down in the comments section below, and let's get started. Unfortunately, there are some slight technical issues in today's episode. There are just some slight crackling / static noises that occur randomly throughout the course of the video, so I do apologize about that, but I wanted to let you all know so you know it's not like an issue with your earphones or your speakers. You may remember this issue happened a couple of months back, and I actually bought a new microphone after that started happening, but when I travel, I actually still use my old microphone just because it's easier to take with me, whereas the new microphone is just kind of too big to pack easily. So I think it might be a bad wire, so I'm going to look into replacing it, and hopefully, doesn't persist too much throughout the next couple of days while I'm still back visiting home. But yeah, just wanted to give you all a heads up, and thanks as always for your support. Alright, getting into the first match, and wow, there's some really interesting stuff here. Dragapult, Fini, Whimsicott, Togedemaru, Snorlax, and Ferrothorn. So, I know that the team creator actually mentioned that Dragapult isn't a super good matchup, and they added some text, specifically, Dark Pulse isn't a tech for Dragapult, but it helps. And then Clefairy here actually has Ally Switch, because, Dragapult's almost always going to Phantasm into Clefairy, so then it gets redirected into Porygon Z. So, it's a pretty interesting example of how to tech in a move specifically for a Pokemon that would otherwise be a pretty difficult matchup. So I think I kind of like Whimsicott plus Clef here. Who do I want in the back? Togedemaru means that Alecki is a little bit less effective. I mean, we don't do that much damage with Alecki across the board. Ferrothorn concerns me. I don't think Urshifu really gives us much value, so I think I'm going to go with Rillaboom and the Incineroar here. One thing that I want to talk about is that I played a bunch of practice games with this team, and I found that I was often I was often losing because I wasn't choosing the right Pokemon, basically. Especially, the two Pokemon that I had in the back. It was a pretty common mistake, and I there were a lot of games where it felt like, oh, I would have won if I just brought, Urshifu over Incineroar, Rillaboom over, whatever. And I just was not making the right decision, pretty frequently. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I'm gonna go with Dragapult plus Fini. I really want to just Helping Hand Max Darkness turn 1. Question is whether or not Dragapult maxes. It could even go for, one cool play my opponent could make is, Phantom Force. But we have Rillaboom in the back, so dealing with Fini won't be too difficult. We really want to get Dragapult out of the way. So, yeah, I think I will just launch Helping Hand and Max Darkness out immediately. Dragapult has a lot of things it can go for here. Okay, they switch Fini out. That's already a good start for us. Into Ferrothorn. Okay, perfect. Ferrothorn is not that scary, especially because I'm actually going to get a special defense drop off with Max Darkness, but they're not maxing with Dragapult, which makes me a little bit concerned. The good thing is that we'll be able to KO the Dragapult next turn if they go for something like a Phantom Force or a Fly. But imagine if I launched Helping Hand Max Strike into the Ferrothorn, it's a lot of damage. Best case is, I don't know, Dragapult just goes for a Protect here. So let's see. Gonna get the Helping Hand off. Oh, it's actually screens Dragapult. Okay, that is something I didn't think about, but I'm okay with that. I mean, screens are scary for sure, but we have Incineroar in the back, so that'll be able to deal with the Ferrothorn. They only get Light Screen up, so they don't get Reflect up, meaning that our physical attackers in the back are still pretty good. Ferrothorn is not exactly a strong Dynamax option, and we have a special defense drop on it, so if I'm really nervous about beating Ferrothorn, I can just Helping Hand Max Darkness it this next turn, and then Helping Hand Darkness it again. And even with Light Screen up, I think we could pick up a KO onto it. So, not a bad start to the game. I do like, using, that kind of Dragapult, just because very few people would anticipate Dragapult being supportive in that situation, so that's pretty neat. Yeah, I think because we have Rillaboom in the back, I really don't need to worry about Fini very much, so I am just going to Helping Hand Max Darkness the Ferrothorn in this position. Ferrothorn is just scarier because, if it gets even a single Iron Defense boost up, Rillaboom's not doing any damage to it. They're actually going to commit a Dynamax here, which is really interesting. Okay. I mean, I'm not really nervous about either of these two Pokemon maxing. I feel like Dragapult was by far the biggest max threat on my opponent's team. One other thing to consider is a potential offensive Tapu Fini here, especially because there was Togedemaru on my opponent's team, so, weakness policy Fini with, Volt Switch Togedemaru would have made a lot of sense. But, like I said, I have Rillaboom in the back. AV Rillaboom is really one of the best counters I can have into this Fini right now, so I'm content not targeting it right now. And the Light Screen allows Ferrothorn to survive, but that's super good damage. Enough where I would maybe another Helping Hand and Darkness just KOs, even if they Protect next turn. We'll see. Okay, they're going to just launch Max Geyser. That's fine. I probably don't even need a Helping Hand next turn. I can just go for a Follow Me. They actually just target Clefairy for very little damage. Fini obviously isn't exactly the strongest Dynamax option unless you have Life Orb, and they're not Life Orb here either, so that's perfect. Now they do have Gyro Ball and Ferrothorn, but Clefairy is a pretty slow Pokemon, so it doesn't actually KO us. So yeah, I think we're in really, really good shape right now. Pretty safe to just protect Clefairy here, and I'll just go for another Max Darkness. These special defense drops are honestly pretty nice right now. Yeah, Rillaboom's going to be our answer against Fini in the end game, and then this is what I mean by, you really want to consider what you have in the back, right? Because if I didn't bring Rillaboom, my Tapu Fini matchup would actually be really questionable. For example, if I brought Urshifu instead. They protect with Ferrothorn, that's fine. I don't really mind right now. Yeah, I could launch a attack into the Tapu Fini slot, but, I don't really need to right now, right? Rather just get the KO. Although Helping Hand would have guaranteed us the knockout there. But this next turn, like, I can just go for a Follow Me and a Dark Pulse, right? Fini's Dynamax is just not really doing too much for my opponent right now, so yeah. Even if they geysered into the Porygon Z, like, part of the reason why PZ plus Clef is such a good lead is just because of the ability to, you know, attack safely with Porygon Z once you're Dynamax, because Friend Guard is just that good of an ability, so yeah. I think it's pretty clear cut. This next turn, we'll just go for Dark Pulse onto the Ferrothorn. I think we just go for a Follow Me with Clefairy. Yeah. There's really not much value in any other attack. If Light Screen weren't up, I don't think I'd even ever consider Helping Hand Hyper Beam. We're already ahead in the game, and like I said, Rillaboom's our Fini answer. So trading Togedemaru is super good. One thing that I really like about this team, by the way, is that... Oh, they actually switch out Ferrothorn. Okay. And it is Togedemaru. But that's fine, right? Because, like, I don't see how my opponent does enough damage right now to Rillaboom. Even if you are Weakness Policy, I can just bring in Rillaboom and then just go for Fake Out this next turn, right? You can't activate Policy without me going for a Glide onto the Tapu Fini. Fini's also at -2 Special Defense, so Hyper Beam is also going to chunk it significantly. But you can see why my opponent maxed the Fini. I think their team just kind of lacks good max options, to be honest. Like, it's only really Snorlax and Fini. I really think it's Weakness Policy Fini based off how this is playing out, but I guess I can't confirm that with 100% confidence yet. We're always going to bring out Rillaboom here. I guess Incineroar would be interesting for Fake Out, but like the thing is, Rillaboom is just a lot more consistent, right? And it will hard win against Togedemaru and the... Sorry, Incineroar will win against Togedemaru and the Ferrothorn. I mean, it's pretty intuitive. Obviously, Incineroar is also weak to Fini, but sometimes you might want to consider like conserving your endgame sweeper for the very end, since Rillaboom is in a pretty prime position to just sweep through now. I think the one way we lose this game is if my opponent... I guess they could theoretically like nuzzle Rillaboom right now. It's nuzzle into Rillaboom and get a lot of paras or like full para from Fini. But I think here I'm content... Ooh, this would actually be a pretty fun time to Nasty Plot, I think. Okay, I'm down a Nasty Plot and go for a Fake Out. I don't think Porygon Z faints from... Oh, actually, no, I don't think Nasty Plot makes that much sense. Because then Togedemaru can just target the Porygon Z. So I'm down to just Hyper Beam the Fini, Fake Out the Togedemaru. I guess Togedemaru here could Fake Out Rillaboom. Or sorry, Fake Out Porygon Z, and then I would have wasted my Fake Out. Yeah, so actually I don't really love the play that I made there. We miss Hyper Beam, unfortunately. Okay. They do have Ice Beam. It's a little bit scary. Freeze would be really bad here. Okay, no Freeze at least. Don't love the Hyper Beam miss. Let's see if they are indeed Light Clay. We're also faster with Rillaboom, which is really good. Okay. Yeah, that last turn play was... Oh, sorry. That's actually not confirmed. And they are Light Clay. Okay. I mean, yeah, I think I'm content to just Hyper Beam here. And I'll Grassy Glide into it. Because, like, Incineroar wins the game. Maybe Fini protects here, but okay, they don't go for it. Nice. And Glide is not going to pick up the knockout, unfortunately. I think we're going to end up activating Weakness Policy. Yeah, but the thing is now Togedemaru might just KO the Fini if it's self-activating a Policy. Okay, they actually go for Eerie Impulse. That makes sense. Yeah, basically expecting me to activate Policy, so hopefully we don't miss Hyper Beam. Oh, boy. You have got to be kidding me. Okay. I mean, I think it's still fine. I mean, Incineroar should win, right? But, like, now it is actually a little bit too close for comfort. Especially because the Togedemaru should have Nuzzle. So actually, I think my opponent can win if they just go, if they protect Fini this turn. And then assuming they have Nuzzle, they Nuzzle the Porygon Z, and then you go Nuzzle and Muddy Water. Oh my goodness. That's the one downside of, I mean, 90%. Literally, it's 1% to miss both Hyper Beams. But we can still win, so let's not give up. I mean, to be honest, we should lose here. I guess they could still miss Muddy Water, but your play is always to... Oh, unless I read... No. Wait, yeah, I could read into Nuzzle. I could read into them going for Protect Nuzzle, Protect PZ, and Flare Blitz Togedemaru. I mean, I would always protect Fini here and Nuzzle here. So I'm like, we'll win the game if they actually protect. Okay, or to go for that. That works. I mean, that does reset the special defense drops, but I'm pretty sure Hyper Beam should still KO. Unless they nuzzled the Incineroar here. Okay. Okay, they didn't even go for Nuzzle. They went for Eerie Impulse. That's fine. Okay. And they just got rid of their boosts as well. So I think we should win the game still. This is why you don't want to tilt, right? When, yeah, even though it was a 1% chance to miss both Hyper Beams, I feel like I could have played the game better. Because, like, this game should have been a guaranteed win, to be honest, as soon as we were able to pick up the KO. Like, the early... as soon as we forced them to Dynamax Tapu Fini, quite frankly. So I feel like I didn't maneuver the endgame perfectly, and the fact that, like, there was a 1% chance to lose means that I didn't play it perfectly. But I gotta think about where I went wrong. Either way, that was too close for comfort. I mean, we could still theoretically miss Hyper Beam, which is the scary thing. I could Nasty Plot here, but I don't think it's worth going for. Hyper Beam should always KO Fini from this. Actually, how many turns of Light Screen are left? Is there still one? Ooh, there is. Ooh, for that reason, I actually want to contemplate... Well, I just protected last turn. Never mind. Yeah, I'm just going to Hyper Beam here and Flare Blitz into Ferrothorn. I don't know if Hyper Beam KOs at -2 and with them having Light Screen up, but let's see. Okay. I feel like it still should, but can't say that with 100% confidence. Okay, it does. Good. Oof. Yeah, that did not need to be that close, but in the end, we managed to get the win. Okay, nice. And they're Akaberry. Yeah. I think, like I said, the main thing here for my opponent that made it easier on our side is that they just didn't have great Dynamax options, to be honest, right? Like, their best one was probably Fini. They also had Snorlax on the team, but it was pretty tough to bring Snorlax into this matchup. I think there was Whimsicott on the team too, right? I was kind of surprised to see that, because, like, a lot of the Pokemon on my opponent's team don't really benefit from Tailwind, where, like, I guess Fini would be the best recipient. Dragapult's already faster than pretty much everything, and it was a support Dragapult. Ferrothorn, Snorlax are really, really slow. Togedemaru is too supportive. So this is why, like, so many teams, like, typically build around, like, at least one or two really strong max options. Now, Togedemaru Fini is, like, the obvious combination of my opponent's team, but feels like there isn't too much flexibility after that. So the main thing is that we just had a pretty good early lead, and this is why Porygon Z is so strong, right? A lot of teams just, like, don't have great switches into it, and I can actually, like, say my opponent played the early game really smartly, right? The idea was to try to bait me into targeting a Fini. You switch in Ferrothorn, you stall out my Dynamax, and then ideally Dynamax. But because we got that knockout on Dragapult turn 1, my opponent was basically forced to bring out that Fini immediately, because if you bring out Togedemaru, you just have Togedemaru Ferrothorn on the field, they don't do anything. So I think my opponent really played how they had to, and yeah, I feel like I could have played that endgame a little bit better, because the fact that we had no, like, I had to call that turn correctly, right? If my opponent actually just went, like, Muddy Water with Fini that turn, we probably would have lost the game, but I figured it'd be very unlikely they'd go for that, because they'd realize my best play is probably to go for, like, a Fake Out and a Hyper Beam into that slot. So that's why, you know, even when things aren't looking good, you can still find ways to win, but obviously, like, I didn't want to rely on a prediction to win, and, you know, if we just hit one of the two Hyper Beams, we would have had that game locked up. But that's why you want to keep playing, even if things feel like they're slowly slipping out of your way. So yeah, fun game to get things started, and let's look for our next game. All right, getting into the next match here. It's going to be a Blastoise team with the Registeel. Registeel scares me a little bit. I almost want to think about maxing Lecky in this game, but they do have Landorus and Rillaboom. What am I nervous about? Blastoise, Water Spell, Shell Smash, obviously. They don't have Redirection. Lecky could be definitely Eerie Impulse. I like Clef PZ. I'm just kind of nervous about my endgame against the Registeel. And this, you know, I was just talking about how, like, your remaining Pokemon should be good. I mean, like, you want to bring the right Pokemon, basically. I don't know which of these are necessarily the right ones to bring. Urshifu's tempting just because it can crit with Surging Strikes and it has a super effective attack into Registeel. Rillaboom would be valuable into Blastoise, but only Blastoise. And I guess to an extent the Landorus. It does have Fake Out as well. Incineroar has Taunt, so I could stop the Registeel from going for too many Iron defenses. Lecky's just, like, consistent damage. Okay, so I'm running out of time here. I'm really not 100% confident with really any, like, I mean, we'll be fine. It's just a matter of, like, picking the actual right ones. Do you think I want Urshifu? I'm going Urshifu Alecki, but I don't know. I think that you could very easily make an argument for Incineroar and Rillaboom here. And if we lose this one, like, I think a very good reason might be because I didn't bring the right Pokemon. So figuring out how to pick your, like, the 4 out of the 6 with this team is really, really crucial. And I'm still definitely getting the hang of it. Because, like, Porygon Z is so good in the early game, but you still need the right offense to close things out, right? Landorus plus Registeel. Okay, honestly, not what I was expecting to see. I do have Nasty Plot, which actually makes things really interesting. Because the thing I'm thinking is we basically, also, like, if it's standard Registeel, which is Iron Defense, Body Press, Protect, and then typically now Amnesia, you can't actually really do that much damage to Clefairy. So, for example, turn 1, I can go for a Follow Me, just to redirect a potential, any potential attack away from Thundurus, and Nasty Plot. Because at +2, Porygon Z should just one-shot everything on my opponent's team. I think this is probably going to be support Thundurus. Nervous about seeing Taunt into Eerie Impulse, though. I think that's what's coming our way. It's not good. Okay. Getting Nasty Plot off is nice, but not so nice if they're just going to go for, yeah, Amnesia. I could have started the game with a Helping Hand Max Darkness, but didn't love the idea of that. Now if you're my opponent, I don't know, I would Eerie Impulse. This is where having a Fake Out user would have been really valuable, but I didn't know what Thundurus my opponent was going to be here. Support Thundurus makes a lot more sense, though, in the context of their team. We're going to get hit by an Eerie Impulse, but at least I can max the PZ and then strike, right? I mean, I literally have to switch Clef. I don't have to, I guess, but I should. Maybe I just attack with Porygon Z anyway. Yeah, but then the thing is, I effectively wasted a turn, right? Like, I could have just, The reason I didn't want to Max Strike was because I was nervous about AV Thundurus. AV Thundurus can survive a Max Strike. And I didn't want to activate its Defiant. But I'm pretty sure I just get hit by an Eerie Impulse now. So instead of Follow Me, I could have gone for Protect turn 1. That would actually put us in a really, really good position. Yeah, I kind of like Protect because I think you're not really going to click Eerie Impulse on Porygon Z turn 1 when Clefairy is out there supporting it. But now I'm pretty sure it's going to be Eerie Impulse. Oh, or T-Wave. Okay. I mean, I think I'm more okay with T-Wave because I'm still at +2. Okay, now they're going to go for Iron Defense, yeah. So I'm pretty sure this thing is not going to have a Steel-type attack. Unfortunately, we don't get full Parrot here, which is huge. You're not going to be Focus Sash here, are you? Okay. So the thing is, we do have Urshifu, which can crit through in the late game. I mean, yeah, Registeel was just a really good brain. This Pokemon is just absolutely incredible in the meta right now, so... Nice of my opponent to lead it. Like, they found a really cool lead. But the thing is, you know, now I'm at +2 with Porygon Z, so we can just get a lot of quick knockouts. They're going to bring out Landorus. Like, super easy to switch Alecki back out into Clef and just strike Landorus right now, right? Yeah. I think I'm just going to go for that. Very little reason to have Alecki out on the field right now. Yeah, Registeel is just a really tough matchup for us, no matter what we bring. And at least I'm glad I have Urshifu, but maybe I should have had Incineroar over Alecki. I brought Alecki mainly because I thought it'd be good against the potential Blastoise in the back, but yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to switch Alecki out into Clefairy here. I could theoretically Volt Switch, but I don't want to Volt Switch into a Protect and then have them Max Quake Alecki for a KO. So let's conserve Alecki if we can. And I'm just going to strike Landorus now. The thing that makes me nervous is obviously my opponent did get a Thunder Wave into us, so now I have to deal with full paras. We're lucky enough that we didn't get full para the first time around, but to avoid 3 full paras in a row is, what, chance of para is 1 in 4, so not para is 3 in 4. So to avoid 3 full paras out of our 3 turns of Dynamax is 3 cubed over 4 cubed. So 27 over 64. Yeah, it's slightly under 50%, so not amazing. Also, if you're AV Landorus, like maybe after a Max Quake boost, you can survive a +2 Max Strike. But they're not AV. Okay, they reveal Max Guard. I'll go for another Amnesia. I mean, I'm fine with that, I think, all things considered. We did get the attack off there, but that's ends up basically being a waste. Okay, and I'm gonna... Do I want to protect here? I'm fine protecting, I think. Protect, and go for strike. This is the big turn, though. I really need to get this max strike off. And I'm really nervous about getting fully parried here. Because even if you double up on a Porygon, like, it's fine. Probably Life Orb if I had to guess then. But this means max strike will KO. Okay, they do Quake into PZ. I wonder if a +2 body press actually KOs us through Friend Guard right now. Okay. Porygon. Yep, it's Life Orb. Oh, they're actually faster with Registeel, but fortunately for us, they went for Iron Defense. Okay. One thing to consider... I really hope Porygon gets this attack off. Okay, Porygon was clutch and actually manages to attack through both of the critical turns for paralysis, which is huge. So we're up 4-2, but obviously this Registeel is so boosted up at this point. However, I'm thinking our endgame is just, you know, we have Clef plus Urshifu, I can Helping Hand Surging Strikes twice. I don't even think that's enough for a KO, but we'll see. Like, we have the numbers advantage right now, and that's good. But this is one reason why Porygon Z is such a nuisance right now. Their last one is Incineroar, which, you know, I'm pretty happy to see, I would say, all things considered. I can double protect this next turn. Actually, I don't even need to protect with Porygon, do I? Because if you knock it out, then I get a free switch into Urshifu, and that's actually pretty good for us. But one thing to note is, if you're like playing a tournament, for example, timer is something to consider going into an endgame. If you're going up against something like Registeel, which can't pick up too many knockouts too quickly. I think we just... I mean, I'm at +2 special attack. This thing is so boosted up already. I definitely want to protect Clefairy. Yeah, I think I'm down to protect Clefairy here. Wait, did I just protect it last turn? Oh, I did. Never mind. Then we don't want to protect it. I almost want to consider switching out then. We really don't need a Lecky. Okay, I'm down to switch out and go for a Hyper Beam into Incineroar. Because I think our endgame is going to be Clefairy plus Urshifu right now. And I just don't want Clefairy to take any damage or eat up a potential taunt from the Incineroar. I guess I could have just gone for Follow Me. We're going to go for Fake Out. Yep, into Clef. There's the Body Press finally coming out. Into Porygon. Yep. Maybe this doesn't work as well as I thought it would. Like, I get Urshifu. Like, the question is really how much... Okay, we bring Urshifu out. The question really is how much Body Press from the Registeel... Or sorry, how much, like, Surging Strikes does into Registeel. Is it at +4 or +6 right now? It's only +4. I say that, like... Yeah, only. But, I mean, obviously that still hurts. Okay, I think I'm down to just T-Bolt Surging Strikes into Incineroar to force this to be a 2v1 or even a 3v1. I could Volt Switch here. You know what? I like Volt Switch more because it gives me the switch into Clefairy, yeah. And while Friend Guard's not going to help Urshifu survive much longer, it's mainly so I can have redirection support. Although I guess now I fear if Incineroar is bulky enough to take this. Anyway, my opponent played towards their Registeel endgame very, very smartly, because I already didn't have great counters into this, and the support of Thundurus made things even tougher. But I guess the one upside is that they didn't get too much out of their Dynamax usage. But I kind of wanted to time this so that I had Clefairy and Porygon, Urshifu out on the same time. And so what I actually ultimately could have done was just stayed in with Clefairy, but I was nervous about taking a Fake Out and a Body Press that turn, but that actually makes no sense. There's no reason I need to be worried about that. Okay, they actually go for another Iron Defense. That's actually good news for us. Yeah, I'll take that. Now my real question is how much +6 Body Press does into Clefairy. You should always target Urshifu here. I really have little value in Clef, so I think we just go for a Follow Me here and a Surging Strikes here. And we can end the game with a Helping Hand Surging Strikes, you know, Helping Hand Close Combat. I don't think a +6 Body Press should KO Clefairy, but I don't know, maybe I'm dramatically underestimating Registeel right now. But let's see. Yeah, but this is why I think Urshifu had to come out. Like, that's okay damage. I mean, it's looking like a 3-hit KO, which is... the other good thing is that Registeel can't protect in front of us, right? So... yeah, I think we're actually safe, as long as this doesn't one-shot us. Okay, perfect. This means we're safe to just Helping Hand Surging Strikes. Yeah, Urshifu should close out the game because of the crits here, which is perfect. And you can't protect to heal up. We've seen all of Registeel's attacks. Yep, so we're just going to Helping Hand. Surging Strikes in this position. This is what I mean by, like, your back Pokemon are so important, though, right? I mean, I guess you could apply that to any team, but especially with this team. Like, if I brought Incineroar or Rillaboom over the Urshifu, it's just kind of a hard loss. Because, like, Porygon Z will often carry you in the beginning of the game, but you need enough resources to actually win the game in the end. Yeah, so Urshifu was really it for us here. Not going to pick up the knockout, but now we've done enough damage where any other attack should finish things off. And because we have the Focus Sash here, we're safe to make that play. Oh, and with Friend Guard, it actually doesn't even bring us down to Sash, which is nice. But yeah, I can make that play with 100% confidence, right? Because at that point, based off how much the first Surging Strikes did, like after a Helping Hand, it would definitely pick up the KO. And Registeel can't like inflict any status conditions onto Urshifu, so super safe to go for something like that. Either way, we can just Helping Hand here and Surging Strikes a third time. But I think my opponent played towards their their Registeel like win condition really well. They just in the end didn't get very much out of their Dynamax. We were also lucky to not get fully parried on the turn we attacked with Thundurus and the turn we attacked Thundurus and the turn we attacked Landorus-T. So, you know, you're not always going to get that good fortune, and the T-Wave play was quite nice. Yeah, I do think if they had Eerie Impulse and they had gone for it onto us, though, then we wouldn't one-shot the Landorus, and then the game would be tougher as well. But I think turn 1 I already misplayed by not going for a... I went for Follow Me. I could have just gone for Protect turn 1, because I don't think many players would actually, even if they had Eerie Impulse, I don't think many players would Eerie Impulse into Porygon Z turn 1, so I guess there's a chance they actually went for Taunt onto the Porygon Z slot, but I think that's very, very unlikely. Either way, we come out with a win, but that was definitely close too. But yeah, the Nasty Plot was huge here, right, because it allowed us to just one-shot the Landorus, and my opponent effectively only got one Dynamax turn with their Landorus of damage, and that made the game a little bit easier for us to play. So this is why Porygon plus Clef can be such a strong lead option, and even well-constructed teams often like have to find clever ways to maneuver around it. And Registeel is a really strong Pokemon, but us having Clefairy specifically was really good because, yeah, when you're relying only on Body Press, obviously anything that's immune or resists fighting is going to give you a big edge, and so Clefairy was exactly what we needed. That's why I wanted to conserve it that turn, right? If I got hit by a Fake Out and a Body Press, like I felt like I was just going to take way too much damage. So, yeah, ended up working out pretty well. But let's look for one final match here. Alright, last game of the day, and it is a Coalossal team. Coalossal. Obviously Urshifu is really good, but they do have Gastrodon. They don't have terrain control, they also have Togekiss. I mean, like, Dragapult plus Coal is just a pretty solid lead for them here. If you go Drag Hole, I would surf Volcalypt into PZ turn 1. What if I led like Rillaboom plus Urshifu? Just like glide the Dragapult slot and Surging but the thing is, I don't know. Incineroar doesn't make much sense. They could also go Trick Room, by the way, like Togekiss, Bronzong, Cole. I'm gonna try Rillaboom Urshifu. Is it the best option? I'm not sure. Probably not, but I think it could be interesting for us here. And I'm gonna go Clef PZ in the back. I know this is like not really a common lead combination with this team, but it's really the Gastrodon that makes things awkward. If they didn't have Gastrodon, I would definitely just lead Clef plus the PZ, I think. And then just try to knock out everything around the Coalossal and then bring out the Urshifu in the end game and just Surging Strikes. But yeah, Gastrodon makes this a lot tougher because I can't just, you know, use the Urshifu. Okay, so they're going to go Dragapult plus Coalossal. My other fear is Ally Switch on the Dragapult turn 1, but I think what we can do here is Grassy Glide the Dragapult and Surging Strikes it. I guess I could just Will-O-Wisp turn 1 and protect the Urshifu as well. Ugh, that's a possibility. To which I could knock off. I don't know. If you're my opponent, you could switch into Gastrodon Max, but then you still don't do that much damage. Like, I would Will-O-Wisp Urshifu and protect the Cole here. So, honestly, I think I'm going to go for knockoff and protect. There's a lot that can go wrong here, though. Like, if they straight up just say, you know what, I'm just going to attack anyway, that's an impressive read. And if they make it, kudos to them. But knockoff also covers for ally switch. Okay, Cole switches out. Perfect. Into Rillaboom. Okay, not bad. As long as we force Coalossal out and make sure it does not get boosted early on, that's already a good start for us. So I'm very happy about that. They should just go for Breaking Swipe. Okay, I'm fine with that as well. Ooh, I guess, you know what? That makes this next turn very interesting, though, because we get crit, that's fine. If you're my opponent, you could actually just switch the Rillaboom back out now into Coalossal, which would be very interesting. And then just Surf. It is such a high-risk play. Is it even that high risk, though? I'm not sure it is. I definitely want to switch Urshifu out here. Honestly, I like the idea of gliding Rillaboom, because if you switch in Coalossal and you Surf, you just take so much damage, where then Urshifu can just maybe finish you off later on. I'm nervous about switching to Clefairy, because it's such a passive Pokemon. But obviously I have to respect, like, Grassy Glide here into Urshifu. Yeah, I think I'm going to Glide here, because I do need to respect the option of them switching back out into Coalossal, and I think I will just switch out into Clefairy here, because Porygon Z is too important to just take a chunk of damage right now. Nice play turn one, though. I definitely was not expecting Breaking Swipe. That's actually the best option, because if it were... Okay, yeah, they switch Rillaboom out. I thought so hard about going for Surging Strikes there, but at least Glide should do a sizable amount, and then they're going to do even more to themselves using a Surf here. So, I'll take it. Nah, it's not really that much with Glide. Oh, they actually go for Will-O-Wisp. Okay, nice play. Now they get Surf off. Yeah, they managed to get the setup well. Glide didn't do as much as I expected, and, I mean, it would have been risky for me to stay in with Urshifu, but if I called it, I would have just won the game there, and I think a switch out there is pretty likely, because the thing about winning with Coalossal is often all about positioning. So, nicely done by my opponent. Yeah, this is going to be pretty tough now, I think. You know what I should have gone for? No, I was going to say knockoff, but that doesn't work if I'm reading into Coalossal's coming in anyway. I mean, I should have just made the read and stayed in with Urshifu and gone for Surging Strikes. Yeah, that was really the play. If I'm my opponent now, I'm going to Surf and Flare into a Rillaboom slot. I don't really have counterplay to that. I'm going to protect Clefairy for sure. Guess I'll U-turn here. But, yeah, now my opponent's maneuvered. I mean, unless Gastrodon's not their last one, but I think it definitely has to be. Was Incineroar or Lecky ever going to help me in this matchup? I really don't think so. Incineroar, I guess, is somewhat interesting because of Taunt. But, don't love it. Yeah, my opponent going for Breaking Swipe turn 1 was actually really critical as well, because if they had went for Will-O-Wisp onto Urshifu, then I could have just probably finished off the Dragapult with the Glide and an Aqua Jet, so they actually played this early game really, really well. And this wasn't going to be an easy matchup to begin with, so yeah, they're making some really, really solid plays here. Okay, hold on, that was a lot of damage onto their own Coalossal, because they crit it. Like, I'm pretty sure Helping Hand Aqua Jet KOs that thing. We've seen Breaking Swipe, Will-O-Wisp, Surf. I'm just nervous about Ally Switch being the last one. Yeah, they Flare here. I guess actually with Sun Up... Oh, they actually target Clef. You know, that's actually a really smart target, yeah. Because Rillaboom is so useless right now for me anyway. But I'll take it. This actually works out pretty well for us. And U-turn is the perfect move to have here to pivot out, so I'm happy about that as well. Oh, it's just the fear of Ally Switch. Like, if Dragapult didn't have Ally Switch, I'd always bring out Urshifu here, but because I think there's the threat of it, I think we have to bring out PZ right now. Yeah, I just don't love that. Okay. Now what? I can Helping Hand Max Darkness Coalossal. Because I think with the Sun Up, you're not going to KO Porygon. Sorry, with Friend Guard. This is where Trick Room would have been a really interesting option. Yeah. I'm gonna go Helping Hand Darkness here. Because I think if we knock out the Coalossal, we'll win the game here. Well, not necessarily even, actually. If I take too much damage, I can't beat Rillaboom very easily because I didn't bring Incineroar in this game. I didn't think about that. I'm just a little bit frustrated at myself because I could have made the hard read. Like, I expected Coalossal to switch out that turn, and I kind of made a play that was in the middle of the ground, but ended up not even being that good just because, like, we were burnt, glide, and at the -1. Yeah, I forgot we were at -1, too. We really just did no damage there, so not a great play on my end. Let's see if Ally switches their 4th. Okay, no Ally Switch comes out at least. They actually go for Volcalith, which is obviously going to do less damage here over Max Flare. But obviously they want to get the Rocks up, so that makes a lot of sense. However, I'll take that turn gladly. It's probably Light Screen. Oh, I don't know if we knock out Coalossal then. But at least we know there's no Ally Switch. So I could safely go for, like, Follow Me this next turn. Oh, and they survive. Oh, that's a big bummer. Okay. But the thing is, it was always going to be one of Light Screen or Ally Switch, right? And so, yeah. Okay, so we get hit by the Volcalith. At least, like, we heal a little bit from Grassy Terrain right now, which is nice, so we're not taking as much damage. If you're my opponent, Dragapult is completely useless now. You've done really everything you can with it. I still, like, because I don't have a Fairy type attack here, it actually is pretty difficult to win the end game against. I need to Follow Me here. If you're my opponent, I think you could protect Coalossal and then switch Dragapult out. Question is whether or not it's worth it to make that read. I'm going to be honest, if I'm my opponent here, I'm switching out Dragapult and protecting Coalossal here. But I didn't want to, like, I don't know, max strike the Dragapult. Okay, they stay in with both, though. That's good. So at least they don't switch. Okay, and they don't max guard. I'll take it. Still doesn't feel great, though. I think we faint to this. Yep. Ah, yeah. The Light Screen, I thought it'd still be enough to KO Coalossal, to be honest. But to be honest, we were only in that position to begin with because we had the, we got that lucky... Lucky. I'm also, like, just thinking about how I even beat Rillaboom now. Because our Rillaboom answers in the late game are pretty suspect. So, my opponent switching out into Coalossal not only allowed them to get the switch into Coalossal, but also allowed them to conserve their Rillaboom for the end game. I guess the hope is for our Rillaboom to outspeed them and then click Fake Out into it. But the problem is that Breaking Swipe now is pretty close to KOing us. Grassy Terrain disappears. Yeah, this game was just one in which, like, my opponent outmaneuvered the opening turns, and that's what you kind of need to do if you're playing Coalossal. I think we brought our best resources, and, like, we had plenty of... Like, I could have hard won the game if I clicked Surging Strikes the turn that Rillaboom switched back out into Coalossal. And I even, like, mentioned it, but the middle of the ground play that I mentioned just wasn't as middle of the ground as I thought it was. Yeah, I think our best bet here is just to hope that we're faster with Rillaboom. How fast are we again with this? I don't think it's very speedy. Oh, actually, I could have seen based off whose terrain went off first. But even if theirs went off first, I think the only way to ever win is to just hope for a speed tie anyway, even if they're faster based off terrain. But I think it's likely they're just going to go first here. But there's no other way to win the game right now, so yeah. Oh, interesting. If Breaking Swipe doesn't KO us, we actually have a chance. Ah, but it's enough. Okay. Yeah, the Dragapult basically made the right move every single turn this game. Like, I can't stress how important turn 1 Breaking Swipe over Will-O-Wisp was. Because if they had been baited into Will-O-Wisp being the Urshifu, and I do more damage with knockoff, and then you're definitely in KO range from Dragapult. So, I mean, I don't feel bad about losing this one, because quite frankly, my opponent played the first 2 turns, like, phenomenally. Curious if it was a damage roll on the Coalossal, but if I had to guess, it's not, and it was just guaranteed to survive from that range. Plus... Like, we were even in that position to begin with because of the fact we knew, because we had the crit. But the thing that's frustrating is, yeah, like, the fear of Ally Switch on Dragapult, right? If I know Dragapult doesn't have Ally Switch, then Urshifu can just Surging Strike. I could bring Urshifu out. Well, even if I Surging Strikes, then, like, they could just switch out into the Gastrodon. It's, like, the Gastrodon made this game a lot harder as well, right? Because if they didn't have Gastrodon, I didn't have to lead the way I did. But because of Gastrodon, I felt compelled to lead Urshifu Rillaboom. So, like, I'd say we had the better lead, but I didn't play like, my opponent just outplayed me those first 2 turns. But I think the ball is in my opponent's court for a matchup like this because Coalossal is just so good into our team, and they have Gastrodon to protect from Urshifu. So, yeah, Gastro is a, pretty natural partner for Coalossal. It makes a lot of sense, but it's one that I haven't seen in a while. It's just not exactly the most common Pokemon in Series 9, but that being on my opponent's team made this matchup, like, dramatically more difficult. Plus, my opponent didn't end up having Ally Switch on Dragapult, but it's so common on Dragapults on Coalossal teams that, like, it's, like, a fair assumption to think that they'll have it, and, like, I wanted to play safely until my opponent revealed it, but the main regret this game was just, like, not making the big call and staying in with Urshifu and just going for Surging Strikes on the Coalossal switch in. But once again, like, my opponent played those first 2 turns, like, literally, like, as perfectly as you can. Yeah, so kudos to them. Not much else to say. I think, yeah, the other hope was to just survive the Breaking Swipe and then force it to be a 2v2. To be honest, like, Dragapult also just does a lot of damage to us. Like, we don't have great Dragapult answers, even against supportive Dragapult. Like, Breaking Swipe just keeps decreasing our attack. And then the end game, even if we had knocked out the Rillaboom there, would have been Dragapult plus Gastrodon against burnt Rillaboom and an Urshifu, and then you could just protect Gastrodon Breaking Swipe. Yeah, and then I really can't, I can't do anything in that position, right? I have to knock off and Surging Strikes. I'd knock off Close Combat. So the awkward thing about this matchup was, like, I brought Urshifu to pressure the Coalossal, but the thing is, the only value of Urshifu was to pressure the Coalossal. So one other thing I could have done in this game was actually bring out Urshifu over the Porygon Z immediately, but like I said, yeah, if this were a best of 3, or if I knew they didn't have Ally Switch, then I'd bring Urshifu out, and then I could just go for Follow Me plus Close Combat, because that would always work, but, like, the thing is, if I brought Cole out there, and they had the Ally Switch, I would just instantly lose. Sorry, if I brought Urshifu out and they went for Ally Switch in that position, I would just instantly lose. So that's why, like, I wanted to bring Porygon Z. I was thinking maybe even with Light Screen, Helping Hand plus Darkness would KO, but unfortunately we fall short of the knockout. If we get that knockout, I think we actually just win the game, because then I can just Follow Me strike the next turn, because we get an extra turn with Porygon Z, and that's really what matters. But yeah, I think this was a masterclass on how you can maneuver Coalossal even if the lead matchup doesn't play out well. So yeah, props to my opponent. And being a good Coalossal player doesn't mean, just leading Dragapult Coalossal and clicking Dynamax on turn 1. It means knowing how to maneuver it, knowing when to make the switches, knowing how to position your Coalossal perfectly, and knowing how to pressure your opponent so that they can't just necessarily pick up a free knockout onto Coalossal, right? I think a lot of less experienced Coalossal players will often take those risks and those gambles and just, like, max Coalossal immediately anyway. And sometimes that'll work, right? And sometimes you do need to make those plays, but if you can mitigate that, put on some early pressure against your opponent and then get Coalossal out in a safer position, exactly like what my opponent did in this one, then you'll be in a much better spot. So, yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thanks so much as always for watching. Check out details for the team in the description below, as well as that tournament report that I mentioned. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll catch you all next time. All right, peace.